like I don't want to invest in Pokemon. It's either a flip or it's a PC. It's for my collection because I want it, or I'm gonna sell it and I'm gonna flip it. Like that's, huh?
How come?
Because I don't really. I am eternally nervous just about collectibles markets in general, and the volatility and the amount of demand that really needs to stick and stay, for all of these prices to retain and stay up in Pokemon. Like Pokemon is it's so important. The amount of demand that Pokemon needs to stay afloat with where things are at right now, that makes me a bit nervous. Not that I think it's gonna go down. Like I'm like betting on Pokemon as like, because I'm doing this. I've made it my business. Obviously, I have some belief, but it's like for me, I don't really feel the need to invest. I'd rather go throw it in the stock market or just collect. I'd rather go flip with that money instead of put it into something. Because I believe
my own that I think is going to have long-term appreciable value over somewhere else I could have put the money.
Yeah,
like that's not how I look at this hobby. Like there's like
same
art I look at like that. There's and that's for me what I own. There are things in this hobby that will do that. There are things, and that's how collectibles hobbies generally work, right? Like the 99% of the hobby from a volume standpoint maybe keeps up with inflation over time or drags below it. And then there's a small group of things,
the top 1%,
that grow at 7, 12, 27%, a year annualized over certain periods. And then that ends up working out over time, adds a little diversification to a pool. But there's like, I don't know, maybe like one thing that I like am confident that like, not confident, but I assign a pretty high probability to that like 10 years from now, it's going to be worth more than what I bought it for.
Yeah.
Not more than what I bought it for, but have a significant like return profile over time. But yeah, no, if I buy something, it's for like, I make a transaction to sell it or it's going in my PC. There's nothing where I'm like, all right, I'm going to buy this and I want to hold it for like a 12 to 18 month period. It's not like trading a stock. It's just
right. But all my
this isn't
PC
a price tag. No price tag.
but they are, because you're gonna sell it one day, So like for me, like the things that I quote unquote invest in are like my personal collection goals, because I get to hold on to them for a while. I get to seriously enjoy them, and then I know I'm gonna sell them one day.
Passive collection standpoint, but you're not necessarily trying to time it, and some of those things maybe I'm speaking for you, but you might be okay breaking even or taking a small loss on for the utility of having gotten to own it. And I think that's what a lot of like passive collecting is about.
That has happened for sure. Like you realize that, hey, I was inexperienced. I bought something thinking that it would go up, and now having more knowledge and experience and saying like, hey, this probably won't go back up. And if it will, it's going to take a long time. So I don't want to have all this cash tied up when I know that I can take this, put it into something that I think that I can rebuild, again, flipping and building that back up for sure. I've definitely been there. But like the way that I look at it, like, cause I have some pretty big personal collection goals, but it's like at the end of the day, like I'm going to sell those one day, so that is investing in a sense.
Well, for me, it's like, how do you, if you're making money in this space and that's how you fund your collecting, it's like, it's kind of how you go about it. Like for me, it's like, I trust in my own ability to 2x my money in a month or two and to churn. Then I trust in this booster box or this pack to 2x my money in a month or two, or in a year or 2 years. Like I trust in myself and my own process. Why leave it up to the market essentially? That's where I come from. And I agree with you. I probably shouldn't look at everything with no price tag associated with it. But truly, I really like the cards that I really that stick in my PC and I really want. There's a different level of feeling that I have towards those cards. Like I have engaged with these cards for like my entire sentient life. So like getting to own these is very important and special to me, and I don't take it for granted. It's not a money thing for me. It's not like because I could go out and just buy it. I want it for 400, sure, 400, I'll take it. But like the fact that I go and create it myself, it's like that has no price tag for me. And if I'm just keeping it for however long, I don't care about the money that I put in, because I'm, I am a like net winner, I guess, in the hobby. Of course, like I'm able to collect, I'm able to pay rent, pay the bills. Like, yeah. Like it's definitely a different experience for me for sure. So yeah, but I'll never take it for granted.
I just don't. I do. It goes back to kind of what we were talking about earlier, and some of the way, maybe Dan talks a lot in a kind of uberly pessimistic way. But I've spent a lot. Honestly, I have spent more time probably in markets professionally than anyone like in the YouTube ecosphere, in the public space of collecting. There's probably people who like. There's some guys, and that's not true. There's some guys on IG and YouTube, or IG mostly, that have spent a lot of time in the more traditional investing space at a high level, maybe not professionally, but at any rate, what I'm trying to drive at is that mindset comes from having operated in markets for a long time and knowing how they work. It's the same way you identify, a bubble occurring. It's the same way you identify markets bottoming. It's the same way you understand inefficiency, because you've seen efficiency in other markets. And that has led me to a framework where, with the price movement that we've seen over the past, it's the end of 2022, so call it 2.5 years, right? That the returns on any of these items have been pulled forward so aggressively that there is almost no probability of 99% of this hobby maintaining a return profile above that of inflation over the next multiple decades, meaning that you are losing money in real terms by holding these items because you have purchased them, assuming you've purchased them at market price, in a place where they have moved such a significant amount. And once you start, then if you overpay and you start losing money on it, the mathematical improbability of you getting back to, even like to net zero, it's almost impossible, because the return profile that would have to happen to that item over a set amount of time frame, like you would just have to get really lucky and sell it to a really dumb person. You know what I mean? Like, but in a more rational sense, market, like, which the market is not rational, but you know what I mean, more like fundamental mathematical, it's an impossibility basically. So that's like, I have made a tremendous amount of money in this hobby, and it's all been churning. It's all been just like creating value and then extracting that value in a pretty short amount of time. Like, I'm really going to say this, like, there are not things that I buy or make a play on thinking that I should not immediately sell that if I'm ever going to sell it. Right?
Interesting.
Like, if in this environment now, 7 years ago, it's, you just collect shit, right? It didn't matter. Now there are like and it's also because I'm not like throwing around hundreds of thousands of dollars at trophy cards and super esoteric niche or truly rare parts of the hobby that could potentially have that return profile of an upper echelon of a collectible hobby. Now, even now, it's a problem because so many of those parts of this market were dragged up so aggressively that a lot of stuff's been squeezed out of there. Dude, it just makes me nervous. The whole thing makes me nervous. And I couldn't do it if I wasn't like financially stable elsewhere. Like I don't, and like, the amount of money I've spent in the hobby this year, it's only because of the amount of money that's been created out of the hobby this year. Right. Like I couldn't do can't do that. Like I just couldn't, like, and that's just me. And that's like more like, and to get back more towards what we were talking about, like the data is super fun to sit in and understand, and it makes collecting really fun. And I've been in a place this year where I've spending the bulk of my time building a business and not focused on my hobbies, right? Which is why my content isn't really there. I barely get to do this. Like I'm at a different point in my life right now, right? But I'm still around. But that makes it harder to operate in the hobby too, because you're not as educated. You don't know as much about what's going on, because there is so much inefficiency that the amount of value you can extract in a short amount of time out of inefficiencies that exist there is, why would I ever hold something to think it's going to go up in value? Like, why would I bother? Why wouldn't I just own it, assign a 0 to it, and then
That's why.
keep it? No.
That's why. Look at these price points. If you were to have sold right away to buy and flip, if you're saying,
yeah, but the margins weren't like it then. There was no liquidity, and no one was buying and selling. Like, there was very low volume, and there wasn't like massive arbitrage.
2019?
No one cared.
2019? I don't know.
2016 maybe there was some during the Pokemon Go boom, and then
are you arguing? Yeah, are you arguing price appreciation or arbitrage within being able to buy stuff? Yeah,
I'm arguing about that Pokemon is not investable, or that you guys are saying that you should only, if you buy, it's to sell right away. And although that, like, I'm with you
Black
there,
Swan events happen at the same time.
correct.
The probability of that ever happening again is effectively 0. There's a better chance of you getting struck by lightning 3 times during a zombie apocalypse than us having what happened again happen. Like, it's like
to the extent of the numbers, I agree with you of how high it went up, but I still think that there's plenty of items in Pokemon, especially sealed, that are very quote unquote investable.
But I think if you did the math, the opportunity is so much greater, and the time value of money comes into play.
Depends.
Which is incredibly important. Well, I don't think it does. I think it's just math.
I think it depends on your entry point, because if I'm getting something at a price point that's a lot cheaper than others, and when I sell it a year later, like, my entry point is everything, depending on how much money I'm gonna make off of that. It also depends on how much of a certain product is out there. So it's like,
but don't forget the risk. Don't forget the
100%, 100%
hobby. That's what people never do, though. They don't understand what risk adjusted returns are, right? And the fact that these aren't symmetrical probabilities, right? It's so asymmetric to the downside that, yes, there are tremendous upside opportunities over short-term periods. Short-term can be defined anywhere from one day to the next. I literally did it last week where I bought something for $90 and sold it right then for $150. That's a pretty good margin.
For sure.
Short-term can also be a year, 2 years, like in non-cap gains terms, just in like timeline terms, right? But the longer in a market like this that you hold an item, the more variables you introduce into it that create additional risk profile, right?
I agree with that 1,000%. It's just there are certain things that still have very solid upside potential in regards to holding it as compared to just selling it for, whatever, the 20%.
Well, that's like
margin. I don't think so. I mean,
Colson, what do you like when you go to? I'm curious, like when you go to buy your raw cards, like for your business, what type of return are you looking to get out of that makes sense to sell it right away? Like, just how does that work for your end?
Well, for grading, my kind of bottom echelon of like margin that I target is a 2x after fees and shipping. Like what Kai just said. Kai knows. Kai does the same thing. Like, me and Kai are close friends. Like, that's what I target. So when we talk about price appreciation within a year, there aren't a ton of things that can sustainably 2x every year, like especially now. So that's where I come from. It's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's
like bird.
Yeah, right. And I totally agree that there are some arbitrage opportunities that can be an enticing hold, where you know that some of these sealed products they will go up, but there's an equal chance, maybe more, that the entire market will just start to lose demand and fall off. Like, what the logic and reasoning behind these sealed items and owning them is really sound, but I think the point is that it's kind of out of your control. It's like you could do the best you could do the best you could research the most, whatever, but 2008 could happen. Like, what, it's like nobody casually investing in the stock market could have ever done anything to stop that. Like, my entire I have family who just got ruined financially for the rest of their lives because of something like 2008, completely out of their control, right? So that's kind of the nervousness that I come from with holding, probably kind of similar to Connor. So, but I totally like hear what you're saying, and I do think that if the market holds up, those things aren't a bad thing to hold on to. I feel like there's better uses of time and money, but again, you can't, like, it's where you want to be. If you don't want to be doing the volume play with like CGC or PSA and grading hundreds of cards, putting them in plastic, like low end, and selling them, then like that's okay. And you don't have to do that. So maybe the sealed box, it's like, what are you going to do with the sealed box? You're either going to break it or you're going to hold on to it. It's not like you can grade it, or it's not like you can constantly flip it into volume. Like it, huh?
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. Not yet. So it's like, so if that's where you want to be, what you're doing is pretty much like the best that you can be doing with what you want to collect, what you want to hold, what you want to sell. Like, that's it. And I totally understand that. So it's like, how many more options do you have if you want to own it? Right.
Yeah. I guess my point is that I feel like Pokemon investing gets such a bad rep, but it's like, let's be honest, when Eevee Heroes just got the reprint and boxes were, I think my guy had them at like, I don't know, $75 or something like that. It's like, if you buy 200 of those, 100 of those, 50 of those, 20 of those, whatever that your, disposable income is, that you can do that, like, that's 1,000% investable. Like, it just is. Like, even though if it's a stupid move where it just sits in the closet and you can't enjoy it, it's still going to appreciate because it has just that god tier popularity and chase. Like, it's always going to have something. So again, it's about your entry point. But again, if you're buying it at $300 a box or $250 a box or whatever it is right now, you're going to have to wait a lot longer for that to go up. But look at Sun and Moon. Look at like X and Y you were talking about earlier. You're buying boxes for 50. Now they're 800. It's like things are 1,000% investable in this hobby. And for people to say that they're not, it's crazy. It's crazy.
75 and now they're 300. Why would you keep waiting? Because then your IRR gets reduced over time because you're dragging out that over time. And then you could take that money and redeploy it and make money on your money.
I agree, but I agree. And you should, for 100%. And when I say invest, I want to make it clear. It's like you're buying something and then later down the line, meaning again, I'm not buying this so that I'm flipping this in a month, 2 months. Like, I'm thinking somewhere like a year to 3 years where it appreciates, that makes sense. So it's like, if I would have done that a year ago with Eevee Heroes or even 6 months ago, that's a solid profit going from $80 to $250 or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's like, there's still plenty of ways to invest in Pokemon. Like, it really is, man. There's plenty of opportunities too. So like, I don't know. I'm very bullish in that regards, but I understand that my business model that I make money off of is literally buying boxes and selling it for a very small profit, because it's churn and burn, exactly like you said, because it's safe. It makes sense. Like, it's repeatable, it's scalable. But then there's also things that for sure that I have, that I 100% think will continue to go up, and they have, for sure.
That's something I was going to ask.
It really kind of depends, because like, here's the thing. Again, I don't buy a lot of modern to invest in it. So it's like, Like my end goal is to buy a bunch of product. Otherwise, all the boxes that I did buy and sold for literally a $10 to $15 profit margin on my live streams, I'd have stacked in my closet. You know, but I'm just saying for the casual collector, for people that do want to invest or do want to buy into Pokemon, it is 100% an option, depending on the set, depending on your entry point, that can still be very profitable for sure. Like it's just that simple. SM Pratt was just talking about Japanese modern booster boxes. You're looking at CP6 like 5 years ago compared to like English booster boxes for evolutions. Still $600 compared to what it was 90, which was just a few years ago. That's a nice little chunk of change there. And people were laughing at that. Oh, evolutions isn't investable. Oh my God, people are stupid. That's fine. It's all good.
Man,
for 4 years, that set was sitting at distributors, not doing anything, and your money was dead. And this, yeah, like when you're talking about investing in modern sets, there's so much you have no idea what the Pokemon company is going to do. We're all super lucky that Eevee Heroes didn't get printed to oblivion. It's like free cash. It would have just been free money for them, but they decided not to do it. Like that set could have gotten destroyed.
This is the
but
problem.
Even if it did, there's still enough demand to eat up the supply that's out there. And look at Umbreon.
Yeah,
it's the perfect example. Like we all thought that this thing is going to crash, and it didn't. And I'm not saying go invest in that now because it depends on your entry point.
Didn't it just crash though? I think it did just crash.
Well, what's your definition of crash?
Well, it was like what, like 13, 14. Now it's like 758 within like 2 weeks. I feel like that's kind of a crash.
That's a crash. Okay. That's a crash. I haven't paid attention to that card, but
yeah,
it's still doing very well, you know, for a modern chase card, you know, that's kind of crazy.
I did the math on that, Charby. Exactly.
Yeah.
Look, I think this is the problem. I think the problem is that like, it literally, and this is no shade against anyone, but like people just actually don't know like what investing is or how like what like traditional investing is. So like they observe like a hobby space that looks like more fun that they think they can make money in. And I think that like it is not like all things equal. Like most people end up losing, you know? And some of us, like we have the luxury to be able to buy and hold something if we wanted to, thinking it might go up, whether we're like irrational or rational about it, right? Like, and because like we know we're winning overall everywhere else, like it, like I don't think if someone needed to, if someone truly understood like what their financial situation was and how they were going to protect and grow some wealth over time, because I think the true way you do that is like through some concentrated bets, right? And that's what happened to people in 2020, right? They, not every collector, right? But some people like a Jake's a good example, right? Where he truly believed that something would happen over a certain amount of time, and then it all got pulled forward. So it's a significant portion luck, but also some skill in observing that he felt like an IP had a bunch of, you know, assets, memorabilia, trading cards, whatever, that were undervalued. But what I'm saying is like people, and I just lost my train of thought there for a second, but basically where I sit is like, if they truly understood what, I just like people don't understand simple things like compounding and real versus nominal returns and like how you actually build wealth over time. And it's like, it's not like through necessarily always like the most fun thing that you like enjoy. Like traditional investing is like super boring in a lot of ways. Like I've had the luxury of engaging it at a very high level, investing in private equity, private credit, derivatives, hedge fund, like you name the investment vehicle, catastrophic reinsurance. I don't give a shit. No one knows what that is, but I'm just telling you, like, there's all these things, right? And now, like, because of that, I've put myself in a financial position to screw around in this hobby and market and also be able to like try to build my own business, right? And that's how you truly build wealth, in my opinion, is concentrated bets. Diversification keeps you wealthy. And that's, most people can do that a little bit over time with like the traditional markets. And when you look at all the data around investing in traditional markets and how that works, I just don't know, like if we really sat here and like did the math on an example, there's just no way it ever makes sense, right? Unless another situation like early 20, mid 2020 until, early 2021 happens again, and you buy, and then the event happens and you sell, somewhere after the peak, right? I just don't think it's ever going to make sense mathematically, because I can think about like to think about the return. Let me put it this way, and without assigning numbers to it, because I don't want to go like crazy with it. But if you bought a box, like, I'll just assign simple numbers, but if you bought a box and wanted it to double over a year, right? But if you could take that box and I did this, I wrote an article for someone's coming out with a physical magazine. I wrote an article for them, and I went through my entire soup to nuts, dollar figure, full transparency on how I make money breaking modern Japanese, right? So if you held a box and then you hoped, and it did end up doubling over a year, there are scenarios in which obviously with more time and effort, you can create multitudes of return there by simply flipping things over very, very, very small increments again and again and again and again, because compounding and making money on the money you made is vitally important, right?
But not everybody has that ability to do so. You have an audience where you can flip, where you can do that. You have built up seller credibility. You have a YouTube channel. You have an Instagram page where you can do that. What do you say to the casual collector that bought a $70 box of Tag All-Stars that's now $210, $250 in a year?
They probably don't even know, because they're a casual collector and they're probably going to open it. But
there's plenty out there that do that. I mean, at the time when I bought mine, like, that's what I did. I was like, I'm going to buy 4 because this is a solid set. I believe in it, and I'm going to throw it back. It's exactly what I did. I was a casual collector, and I ended up breaking them because now I have a presence and I can break it now, and it's fun and make the community together. But is that not investable?
But that was then, right? I'm not saying I didn't make plays like that either, right? I'm talking about now. I'm talking about where Pokemon sits today, where we've come over the past 2.5, 3 years, and where I see the rest of the trajectory going. And to me, is there a probability it could happen? Of course. Is the downside risk so much greater than the upside potential now that we have come through a period like we did with the price appreciation we've seen, even post downturn or whatever? I mean, yeah, because like we're still in a crazy, bull market, in my opinion, in collectibles and in Pokemon. And we really have not seen the amount of pain you could actually see in this market. Like, people have no idea. They have no idea how absolutely annihilated all of this could get.
For sure.
The probability of that happening compared to traditional assets, broad swath, it's not just about the probability of it happening. It is the probability of the upside against the probability of the downside to me. So why would I introduce increased risk into a play that I think can make money? Why wouldn't I would just take the bird in the hand. And maybe that's like conservative, but also rational. I mean, it goes back to like, and then you actually do math. Like, you actually think about inflation. You actually think about rate of return and IRR, and you think about compounding. You think about money turning into more money over certain time periods and being able to make money on that money you made, and de-risking, right? Taking out no capital. Like, there's all these things, and I can go on this forever. And I'm not like, I just like, man, I haven't got to talk about this in a while. Chat's funny. It's really funny. yeah, I just haven't really I haven't wanted to make singular videos by myself with a damn whiteboard or talk about shit like this. Honestly,
Do it.
it's very it's way more fun to do it on this platform.
It is. And that's why I'm kind of playing devil's advocate a little bit, because it's fun to have
and this is I love it. And I hope everyone appreciates that we're just
Oh, they've all unsubscribed from me already. Don't worry.
I mean, dude, I don't even know. I've got 0 subscribers. It's fine.
This Rob guy's a fucking asshole.
I do believe the shit I say, because this is off the cuff. Just I don't know. I'm gonna get off my soapbox, but I worry about people still trying to drive there when I think it is going to. It's even if it works, at what cost, at what risk? What was the probability that actually worked out for you? Can you monetize on the back end, to your point, right? Can you actually, what if the box does doubles, Can you actually sell that and action on that? What if the market's so, a liquid by then that it doesn't matter and they're actually not transacting at that anymore? What if you miss that point in time? What if the last sale was at 2x, but then, things go off a cliff and you can't, execute on that price anymore? There's just, I don't know. Someone just sent me an $80 offer for a Quidditch Cup box, by the way, so they must be listening to my plays. I'm done.
That's funny.
It's really funny.